The fact is, Squirrel is an ambassador. She extends a paw for peace to all the world. Thank you, Squirrel. Thank you for your service. I did it. I went crazy. I simplified the nonfiction trade paperbacks to one case, no overflow. But I did it without getting rid of almost any books. Previously, this shelf, which is right by my bed and is atop the weird books section. Check out those videos. I thought they were cool. No one watched them. No, that's not true. Like 2 people did, and they were cool. I mean, weird books? Who doesn't love weird books? How do you not love a weird book? Even a total normie will be like, whoa, that's weird. Some of these are weird and awesome. Anyway, so I turned the old nonfiction overflow case into the currently reading shelf, which used to be high atop a bookcase. So that's so awesome. That's convenient. And then there's an empty space there that I can set the book I'm currently reading in. There we go. That's not aesthetically displeasing. Oh, that's a cover, folks, right there. Come on. And this Carl Jung fella, you know, you might have a wise thing or two to say. I started reading this because I thought it would illuminate my monthly reading of The Secret Sharer by Joseph Conrad, which I'm doing all 2025. Because I didn't give this old lady some water in the woods one time when I passed her by, and she cursed me I have to read The Secret Sharer every month for all of 2025. I thought that was weird, but it's a pretty good little almost novella. I've seen it called a novelette. A long short story. That might be a pinnacle form of fiction. That's what James Joyce's The Dead is, and that's what I think is one of just the best stories ever written. I love that story. You just need a little room to stretch around. But aside from being an incredible cover, credited to no one but signed, I puzzled that out the other day. Yes, I think it says Jonas. But this is interesting to read. Like, I love when I read something just almost at random, you know, or for various reasons, and then it turns out to just be so fitting. Like, I've been thinking a lot about the individual versus the group because I've been trying to kind of subsume my personality at work into something more general and pleasant. I really leave a lot of my opinions aside. Never talk about global things. But then when people get to know you and they get comfortable with you, they want you to, like, go off on those things. And if you withhold, I think they think you're being cold or something. It's like, it's going to change this carefully balanced equilibrium. And also, I think a secret for getting along with anybody is kind of Elmer Gantry's secret. Be, like, legit, sincere. Find that part inside you that's really that person, you know. Yeah, with the growth of what both patient and doctor feel to be understanding, the situation becomes increasingly subjectivized. What was an advantage to begin with threatens to turn into a dangerous disadvantage. Subjectification, in technical terms, transference and countertransference, creates isolation from the environment, a social limitation which neither party wishes for, but which invariably sets in when understanding predominates and is no longer balanced by knowledge. As understanding deepens, the further removed it becomes from knowledge. An ideal understanding would ultimately result in each party's unthinkingly going along with the other's experience, a state of uncritical passivity coupled with the most complete subjectivity and lack of social responsibility. Understanding carried to such lengths is in any case impossible, for it would require the virtual identification of two different individuals. Sooner or later, the relationship reaches a point where one partner feels he is being forced to sacrifice his own individuality so that it may be assimilated by that of the other. This inevitable consequence breaks the understanding, for understanding presupposes the integral preservation of the individuality of both partners. It is therefore advisable to carry understanding only to the point where the balance between understanding and knowledge is reached, for understanding at all costs is injurious to both partners. Yeah, I feel like I totally experienced this lately. I'm just like, subsume, push down, you know, my distinct opinions in favor of diplomatic responses and so on. Hi, squirrel. But like I was talking about somebody's like religious convictions with them the other day, one of the principals at the school I'm working at, who's retiring. And when people are just talking about their own beliefs and stuff, I can just be like, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, cool. But then when they start making specific claims where I'm like, I can't just nod and to that, you know? For instance, and evolution is just not true. I'm like, oh no, come on. I love Darwin. Well, Dar, as his friends call him. My boy Dar. CD. This guy discovered something amazing and wrote about it, and it's incredible. And someone else was kind of discovering it at the exact same time. What was that guy's name? Alfred Russel Wallace. But I mean, the first chapter of this is just, here's all the precedents in history. But yeah, so you get to that point where it's like, there can be no, I can't just, you have to, and I guess it is those moments of resistance where you kind of individuate yourself from whatever the group consensus of behavior is. Anyway, yeah, so I'm enjoying that. That's illuminating not just my reading of The Secret Share, but is being great. It's excellent. It reminds me, oh yeah, I love nonfiction too. Nonfiction is also good. He's a little reductive and dismissive of communist ideas, but he's writing from his time, and it's very interesting. Yeah, so like now the writing section has a paperback subsection. I thought the writing section looked a little sparse. I didn't like it. A bookend, come on, let's get serious here. And I love the idea of all these shelves just like filling up, you know, pulled forward to the front, completely filling the space if possible. Love it. Just growing. I think it'll make the shelves have a really unique thing going on. And so now the nonfiction trades are reduced down. Look, all the memoirs got pulled out and added to the memoir section. Wait, that's art crit, lit crit, film crit, and then up here, those top three shelves are memoir. I also found a fictional novel in the nonfiction that has now been moved to fiction, which means it's part of the paperback project, the case that I'm reading all of from now until whenever, a few years from now, I guess. But it's also African, so that's great, because I really want this to be like a diverse reflection of what's available in trade paperback in our time. That's literary fiction. I think if I were to make a documentary about this, or write a book about this case when this project's all done, and I'll probably do something with it, I'd call it A Case of Good Fiction. It's about 190 books. This thing's about to go crazy. This is my like vision board / book cover. It's going to be a big part of the book cover for my book. I'm making my own like Cornelian type shadow box. But I just realized I want the whole back cover to be like kind of collagey, still letting the ocean show through, but I'm going to put stuff all over it. Go through this box of random art and posters and see what I can cut up, etc. Oh, but adding Weep Not Child to this, I meant I had to take something out, and so I took out Victor Hugo's Hunchback of Notre Dame, because I've already read it, and it wasn't that great of a copy. And Les Mis is going to be a pretty big thing, you know. Giant book. I read a big abridgment once as a child, and then I found out it was an abridgment. Always disappointing. Yeah. Maybe I'll revisit some of these paperback from a theme. Maybe this channel is going to be like the Family Circus, where they just recycle the comics over and over and repeat them and update them and add cell phones. I'll just keep reviewing the same cases because no one's watching the old videos. So what? No, who knows? This channel is, as its description suggests, it's a glimpse, you know, at the world of literature through one enthusiastic reader's collection. And, you know, it's the kind of thing you can analyze, people's book collections. What do they say? John Cage had the largest collection of books about mushrooms. I think that's so well. Jack Williamson had all the sci-fi in the world. Squirrel could live a life of crime, but she chooses not to. She has morals. And Sweet Pea stays out of it for the most part. But she is what you would call a situationalist. I recently cleaned up some giant teacher donation piles, and I found all these old supplies, like 70-year-old boxes of tacks. I'm like, this should go on Antique Roadshow or something. It's going to be a decoration in my house now. Like, this is amazing. I love true ephemera from another time. And you know what? This is actually full of little boxes of brass paper fasteners, like Brad's first screenplay. It's pretty. If anyone wants to buy such collectibles, if you ever see something on this channel and you're like, let me make you an offer. I'm poor. Listen, but look, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? And I've got other boxes of tacks all around. I use them as shelf decorations recently. Because I'm a total insane idiot. Also, Sweet Pea keeps making me do it. This cat is a manipulative psychic. She's like Professor X, but evil. And her design sense reigns in here. She makes me just put stuff up. She doesn't even live here. She's a guest cat. Anyway, she made me put all these tacks out. But I think they're pretty cool. I like a theme. Maybe if I'm ever being attacked in my apartment, I can like grab a box of these, throw them on the ground. The guy will step on them. Or fall backward onto them. That'd be more likely because, yeah. Oh, that's my favorite. That's so good. What? I think Everett Ruiz wrote something about, oh no, was it Chris McCandless? Well, maybe, I think it was Chris McCandless who's all, an aesthetic voyager whose home is the road. I like the idea of being an aesthetic voyager. I'm all about the aesthetics sometimes. Today I watched a YouTube short that asked the question, if something 2D can exist on a curved 3D surface without an awareness of it, could something 3D exist on a 4D surface without an awareness of it? It's kind of mind-blowing. I feel like we'll probably figure out eventually that reality is like infinite bandwidth. You know, similar to the principle of like radio stations. Or the virtual plane on which the internet exists. Daughter and mother reunited. It's a story that's been happening. I've been watching it. There are micro events on a daily basis that are practically Tolstoyan. I love this section now. All right, so we have the last real section to look at in this room, or this part of the room, is the Southwestern section, and we had just gotten started on this. We had looked at, I honestly don't remember. Let's just go through, and if something looks like we've already talked about it, we'll breeze by. All right, well, I know we looked at this one because it's a recent teacher pile acquisition or something, The Nature of Arizona. I love that these kind of books exist. And I think it's interesting when conceptualists like Kenneth Goldsmith take one form of writing and call it something else. Like when he retyped an edition of the New York Times and called it a novel. That's great. Not that he's all home runs. That autopsy one, yikes. Fumbled. Should never have been attempted. Definitely should never have been altered in that way. But I love Ubu Web. If you know, you know. But The Nature of Arizona. It's this great like avant-garde database that he has overseen. If you like the weird freak art and writing, it's amazing. I go through like manias for it. I want it. But yeah, imagine reading a guidebook as a novel. I guess I had the experience once as a kid. I read a lot of bird guidebooks. Well, not cover to cover, just spent some time on them. My daughter Willow was little. She's all, something I don't think you know about me, Daddo, is that I'm really into birds. Hilarious. Okay, here's like a beautiful old paperback. And this is the nearest like big city to Albuquerque, so I'm interested in Denver. Queen City, A History of Denver. Lyle W. Dorset. Great cover. Oh, and it's a wraparound. Oh, this is beautiful. The first narrative and interpretive history of Denver's dramatic and spectacular growth. Divided into 5 comprehensive sections, the Queen City offers new insight into the leaders and lifestyles responsible for Denver's rise to prominence. Denver in the early 1920s in the photo. Oh yeah. Volume 1 in the Western Urban History Series, 1977. Okay. Hey, book design. Academic book design, University Press book design, right? Love it. I've been meaning to read this. Last summer working at a wilderness camp, it seemed like more than one person was reading this. Pulitzer Prize finalist. I heard Ellen Malloy called an heir to Edward Abbey at one point. When I was working as a corporate copywriter, one of the clients that the company had in this 8th story of a skyscraper overlooking the Jemez Mountains, where the atomic bomb was first developed, where I watched a forest fire happen in its entirety. I wrote a whole essay about looking out that window. It's called A Brightness in Everything. You can find it online at Wildness Magazine. It originally began as a Twitter feed called Out My Office Window, where I just kept typing things I saw out the window. Anyway, one of the clients was a turquoise place downtown that sold turquoise jewelry, and I had to write all these pages for their website. Like, and websites have so many pages. It's just click on this, click on that. This stuff's changing, update this. It's connected to social media. I wrote hundreds of pages about turquoise, and I had to research that crap, and and it's not crap, it's actually very interesting. And it's crazy how it's a byproduct of copper and forms in the cavities between things. Turquoise is actually really interesting. I learned about block turquoise, not real turquoise. It's ground up and made from a paste. But maybe this will be like Maggie Nelson's Bluets, which I also have a meditation on color as well. Here's that book. I enjoyed it. It was recommended to me, though, with really high praise. And I was a little bit like, oh, okay. But I did feel that high praise when I read her book, The Argonauts. Love that book. I think that's like a new pinnacle for the modern essay. The modern book-length essay. Montaigne would be proud and horrified, because he was more into hanging out in a tower on his estate with his cats than whatever Maggie Nelson had to say. But then again, I don't know. He liked the form, and I felt like hers was an advancement. Sometimes the avant-garde, it just gets right to it. I love it. Anyway, Southwestern. I should read this one. Kind of calls to me. I think I bought this new. I was like, I gotta read that. Wow. Marie Sendos, the Buffalo Hunters. Oh, what a sad topic. This is about what happened to the buffalo. I gotta read this. Sometimes just staring out at the landscape in the West, I felt like I've just seen the impression of all the buffalo that have roamed there. Ghost buffalo at night. Just instance of just being like, oh, can you imagine? There's that passage in Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy where the guy who's helped kill all the buffalo in the West is like, maybe there's buffalo on Mars. No, you idiot, you killed them all off, you fool. This book is so good. This book does what some of my favorite nonfiction does. I think I've read this book twice. I loved it. My ancestors came into Arizona along the Gila River, which before invasive species had long, wide banks. Occasional quicksand, but overall it was hard-packed, like white earth. Made travel easy. River gave people everything. You know, that's why the Pima people, the O'odham, were so happy and like just chill. Super awesome. Arguably too welcoming, you know, because that way of life would be taken away by the people that came in there. This book goes deep history back to dinosaur times and sets this river up. I mean, wow, what a cool thing to study, a river. And like the deep pre-European history is all over this book, and it's great. It's so interesting. The development of the atlatl, which this book calls as significant as the development of gunpowder, this throwing spear device. And it's just a great book, and it's so interesting, and I loved reading it. It's full of good writing and interesting thoughts, and there's poetry. I love it. I think I have 2 copies of this kicking around. And I have other books. Yeah, check this out. Another copy I have of that. I love it. The Gila River is amazing. In New Mexico, it's the last undammed wild river. It's so cool. I went to school along its banks and swam in it all the time and loved it. I mean, if you love a river, it's like the movie Spirited Away, where you'll just always recognize it and it's special to you. There's a river spirit in that one. Colorado and I know the Colorado. The Colorado is like, whoa. in my life. Same with the Rio Grande. I greet the Rio Grande every time I cross over it on the freeway. I'm a total hippie. I don't care. There would be no city here if it weren't for the river. The river is like the mother of this valley. And it's like this beautiful, wild, natural heart to the middle of the city. It's a big reason why I love Albuquerque is the river. Even though it is controlled plumbing with locks and dams all the way along it, it still supports a vibrant ecosystem. Even if that ecosystem is being threatened, an invasive species will probably crowd out the cottonwoods within another human lifespan or two. Well, thanks to Prisma. But the Gila is special to me. Here's another book about the Gila River. I read this one too, River of the Sun. And I loved it too. It was very good. These are the best kinds of nonfiction books sometimes. Just like, oh, you like a place? Here's deep history on that place by someone that loves it as much as you do. Pretty awesome. I've always meant to read the giant book I have on the Rio Grande. Here's something interesting. Here's another book also called River of the Sun. But this one's a fictional novel by James Ramsey Ullman, who Annie Dillard would read, so I've always been interested in him. She quoted one of his books in her book, Holy the Firm. Mentioned reading it, something like that. I think she just mentioned reading it. Here's that book on the Rio Grande. You know, the Rio Grande's kind of amazing. It's the 4th longest river in the world. People are like, who cares about your dumb, little, tiny western river that's like a creek where I come from? Well, I don't know. It means it's rare and precious. It's amazing. Rio Grande's no joke. I will read this someday. And there's some of the books I have about the Colorado. Most of them. Glen Canyon in particular. But anyway, if you know and love the Gila at all, Run, Don't Walk to this book. Go back in time if you must and find the Gila by Edwin Corll. I wrote this book-length chapter about going to college in Graham County, Arizona, where the Gila River flows through. Gila monsters are named after the Gila River. They're only found along it. And they don't do well in captivity. But it's special. Now I'm missing the Gila River. That's crazy. Okay. It's my love of graffiti and my love of rock art. This one interests me very much. Portraits of the White Man, Linguistic Play, and Cultural Symbols Among the Western Apache. I actually came to my interest in graffiti through rock art. I was really into this book called Rock Inscriptions of the Colorado Plateau. I was trying to find as many of them as I could in person and going all over the West and checking it out. One of my favorite drinks is an iced coffee and a hot coffee. I've heard hot coffee is for business, iced coffee is for pleasure. Why not both? It's like a hot tub in a pool, you know. You can jump back into one to get relief from the other. But Squirrel just walks away in disgust. That's very cute, Sweet Pea. But there's just a lot of connection, you know. Public expression on publicly read surfaces always has a cultural component. Sounding of a barbaric yop in printed form somehow. But this one's kind of interesting because it's a more modern piece of indigenous rock art that seems to symbolize and satirize the white man. I mean, fascinating. I gotta read this. I have to read this. It sounds amazing. Yeah, I think this one will pair really well with this one here, Signs from the Ancestors, Zuni Cultural Symbolism and Perceptions of Rock Art. Whoa. It's from over in the New Mexico section, that one on the right. But I think those Gila books, that one Gila book that I have 2 copies of, and River of the Sun, the other one, I think they reminded me of this book, which is just about a church in Placitas, New Mexico. And I'm like, I love this book for its like full capturing of a place and the place beyond it too. Now, this book was a favorite of my older sister Leanne, who died in 2001. So I later read it because I knew how much she liked it, and she had quoted it in her college papers and so on. I later met Terry Tempest Williams at a bookstore event, and she was very cool, as was her husband. Terry Tempest Williams works as curator of education and naturalist in residence at the Utah Museum of Natural History in Salt Lake City from 1981 to 1996. She is the author of An Unspoken Hunger, Desert Quartet, Leap, and Red, Passions and Patience in the Desert, the recipient of a Lannan Literary Award and a John Simon Guggenheim Fellowship in Creative Nonfiction. Hey. So this is their husband, Brooke Williams, in the Red Rock Desert of southern Utah. Yeah, they're both very cool. Neat. A couple of desert riders married to each other. Talked to her about my sister, and she was like, I wonder if I ever met her. But this is so cool because it's about the Great Salt Lake, which is just not a place people talk about enough. It's such a unique, natural place, and it's being totally destroyed by water mismanagement, often from Mormon church-owned facilities in Utah. And it's always had poor management. They built a railroad right through the middle of it, totally disrupting it. But this focuses on the birds, but it also kind of uses the birds symbolically and talks about all these family issues about belief and cancer and all kinds of biz, if I'm remembering correctly. What's up, Sweet Pea? What's up, Squirrel? Yeah, the Great Salt Lake should be written about more, and everyone should see the movie Caravan of Souls. I mean, I do love it. That's one of my favorites. It's filmed there. Okay. Let's look at a couple more, and that'll make this a 30-minute video. This looks fun. An American Vision, Far Western Landscape and National Culture. Oh, this sounds so right up my alley. I'd start reading this and just love it. I know it. Or I'll die with it unread. At which point I'll merge with all the universe, and Glob will tally up my deeds. It's an Adventure Time reference. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm like entranced by this book. I'm like, you love topics like this. The book is really that I've been working on and writing, Shadows of Clouds in the Mountains, a 60-chapter, 2-volume, multi-form maximalist work in which every chapter has a different form and all the forms are dictated by the subject matter. There's a comic book chapter, there's a screenplay chapter, there's a chapter that's both memoir and a book of scripture, and memoir and a book of jokes. But I feel like it's also like, I love that quote about Joyce and Ulysses, that if Dublin were to be destroyed, it could be recreated. I want my world to be as big a part as my story as me. In fact, I like to minimize myself in my work and like really put the background in the foreground. I love a good setting. Creating the West. Now this sounds so interesting. Historiography, what a great topic. 1890 to 1990. I bet this is fascinating. This reminds me of a class I took with the writer, anthropologist Marta Weigel. Lore and Lure of New Mexico. Creating the West. Yeah, that's cool. Where does the myth come from? Out of propaganda, maybe? Propaganda, folklore, justification. Like Augustine and his Just and Holy War. Yeah, this looks fantastic. It's pretty too, it's nice. UNM Press? Yeah, as college presses go, they're one of the best. UNM's like a good school. I meant to get a giant foam hand made when I was there that said number 181 on it, because at the time we were the number 181 school in the country. We're number 181. Oh, how funny this is in the Southwestern section. Yeah, it should be. The Stanley Hotel in Colorado is the basis for the movie The Shining. Stanley Kubrick. That's a great movie. I do have mixed feelings about it sometimes. Like, as a horror film, I'm like, is it an effective horror film? It's so stylized. To me, that mutes some of the horror elements, but it's so memorable and excellent and interesting and layered. And it uses that hotel so well. But here, this is about the real hotel. My dad, pre-dementia, went and visited there and got this. What's this? Clairvoyant Illusions of the Past. A theatrical seance experience. Whoa. Okay, cool. Signed. Rebecca Pittman. That's cool. I'm glad I own this. I used to have so many books like this. Oh, this should be in the weird books section. Yep, because regional doesn't really matter. This needs to be in the weird book section. And I got this for the My Strange New Mexico column for research. This has some good stuff in it. This has an account, I believe, of Vanyu, the giant river-sized snake that would occasionally come out of the river near Taos Pueblo in the stories and eat a cow. It's Montezuma's serpent, but put the dumbest way possible. A lot of early whites in the Four Corners states assumed that all the people's ancestry here was Aztec, and so they applied all these Central American ideas. Oh yeah, glad I own this. Oh, this book's incredible. When I wrote that book-length chapter about going to school in Arizona, I block quoted really heavily from. I tried to use block quotes throughout it. I wanted like something like 10% of that book to be block quotes. I wanted it to be like a patchwork collage. Fittingly, this book is called The Quilt of Words. But this has original accounts of indigenous people way back in the day in Graham County, Arizona, getting put into internment camps and, just the real stuff firsthand. I think I quoted from this chapter, a Yavapai woman speaks. There's Yavapai County now, not far from there. The grass was gone, the food that grow natural was gone, there's no wood, and yet they never say. They give us ration, and that's gone too, scarce all the time, we almost go naked. They give goods in those days, even shoes for everybody, little children. He said that was short, they couldn't keep up. We almost all go naked, he said, but they managed to have a little piece of goods, for the women and children, and that's the way they got us to become white people. That's the way they taught us how to be white people, they said, but I don't know the other generation coming. I don't know that. I don't know how you will be, but we went through hard hardships, lose all our people, our best relatives and people. I don't know what you're going to get for it. It's up to you, told the young people. And then this word came. There's a school they built at Old San Carlos, said that compulsory law, you have to go to school, whether you have just one child or not, you have to send it. It happened that I was the only child they had because he was scouting, you see, he didn't stay home. And they cried, mother and grandmother just cried their hearts out, but said they have to go. She ran away and took me and lived in the mountains, but they hunted her up like animal. And they waited at the house, come over to her uncle's house. We come back way midnight and to eat. Of course, I don't know. She carried me on her back in a burden basket. Yeah, maybe people look at my book collection and they're like, why don't you just have like normal books that you read for entertainment? I'm a writer. I'm a scholar. I enjoy learning stuff, I guess. I don't know. How should a person be is a Sheila Heti book. But maybe what should a book collection be? How should it be, We all make choices, us book collectors. I love it. The cats helped make that area because they kept knocking the books out to go behind there. So I redesigned it and now they love it. There's a folded towel back there, a bookend holding the books up, a little doorway in. Animal architecture collaboration, animal-human collaboration. I'm filming when I think I'm not. That's not good. I was going to say, speaking of animal architecture, here's a nest I found at UNM campus. Perhaps this very nest belonged to Sammy the Crow, who remembered. Okay, I'll make room for that on the weird bookshelves. There are still a lot more Southwestern books to look at. And, it's going to be a few videos. But remember what William Blake said, to see eternity, to see infinity in a grain of sand, and eternity in a moment. Eternity. Everything is a microcosm of everything else. It's turtles all the way down. It's fractal. feel like something's wrong with the filming or something. I keep not knowing I'm filming. Well, okay. Double-decker cats. Squirrel in the sidecar. Dinner party seance. What's going on the bulletin board? I love finding weird stuff in books. You know, it surprises me I would find this in a book given to me by my dad, because it seems like he wouldn't want to play around with seances. He was very religious. Look at this kitty. That's so cute. I mean, come on, what? I want to make that into a fridge magnet. That silhouette, because what's going on there, Sweet Pea? Why are you so hilarious? And this is how you chill. Well, thank you for the lesson. Okay, Southwestern books to be continued. Looked at, kinda looked at. We'll look at again. We'll look at. We'll look at. Squirrel, you also chill hilariously. Amazingly cute. Both ears. All right. Well, what are your niche collections within your collections? I bet I've got some other book collectors following this channel, right? Even if your collection is just like 100 books. Like, I think one of the best booktube channels, that Anna Wallace Johnson, that's a very small book collection she's drawing from, but she's like read them all basically. And she's always adding to it, and she's got side aspects of the collection. And you could do a great booktube channel just from the public library. That probably is a thing, you know? But if you have a collection, what are your like sub collections within it? I'd love to know. Also, the comment sections have been dead on this channel for a while. I don't think I've seen a comment in 2 weeks. I'm speaking to the dead internet, my words echoing in a canyon. No, there's some of you out there. Hello. Thank you for the amazing photos of your cat watching this channel, Jean-Yves. Makes my day every time. In Strasbourg, France. Amazing. Here's some special content just for Joseph. Joseph, do you know there's a new cat in Albuquerque? Someone else to come visit. Also, Prisma was solving a crime Rear Window style. Disturbia style. This place needs more rugs. All right, everybody. Hey, feel free to donate to the channel if you ever want to. Ha ha ha. It's there's my PayPal handle is in the channel description at Michael Farrell Smith. Going through, you know, a transitional phase with financial incomes right now. About to switch horses midstream, but I'm insane and there's no horse. All right, take care, everybody.